What's up, YouTube? This is Dave from North Lake Aquatics, and I hope everybody's doing well today. This is the first video that I'm making. And this is for my journey as a fish keeper. It has been quite the long journey, and I've really come together now. Learning things. I'm still learning things. It's unbelievable how much there is to fish keeping that I had no idea about. I like to make this series and kind of show everybody what I've been doing, all the things I've been learning, how to set up an aquarium, how to keep everything going, right? And it's been unreal, the journey so far that I've gone through, and it feels like I just keep going through more and learning more and more and more. And it'd be nice to document some of this for the people that want to start up an aquarium. Maybe you have an aquarium already and you're continuing on with more information. I'm always doing stuff, and it's very interesting. I picked the aquarium behind me, which is my 55-gallon juvenile tank. I have one male dragon blood there, you can see he's swimming around. And I have a bunch of electric blue haps that are swimming. They've gotten pretty big, they're pretty close to outgrowing that tank. And there's some blue dolphins in there. And then I have about 10 or 11 hybrid species that I had first bought for breeding. Anyway, I picked this aquarium behind me because it's the absolute first aquarium that I ever bought. I got it secondhand, and I bought it probably, I want to say, about 2 years ago. I never had a stand like I do now for it, and it's just an orange painted stand. I made the stand out of 2x6s, just straight up 2x6s. I had some extra paint, right? You can see the door here. It's a little crooked, but you know what? It does the job, so I can't complain. And the cover on top, you can see it's just a couple of wooden pieces that I put on there. So I came back from a night shift in the morning to find one of my blue dolphins sitting on the floor, stiff as a board. So I had to fish him out, and I put up a couple wood pieces on top, and I can tell you right now, for a cover, wood is not the best way to go. It molds, it warps. Right now I've had that cover on there for maybe a week, not even very long, and it's already started to mold on me. So, but you can see there I have a hang-on back filter, and there's some leaves, a couple decorations, some rocks. Those are pretty much from the very beginning. So when I first started out, I got it secondhand. I didn't even know about silicone, sealants, or anything. I just kind of filled it up with water, and I said, okay, here we go. And it held. I mean, it had a couple of small chips on the outside of the aquarium just from wear and tear, which didn't really matter too much for the silicone. And it was just a bare tank. Didn't come with anything. Didn't come with fish. And I filled it up with water. I asked my friend who I was working with at the time, and he actually got me a bunch of equipment. He'd gotten me an algae scrubber, which I still have to this day. I think it's all in here. He got me, for example, this algae scrubber, just a regular siphon tube without the pump. He had got me that AquaClear hang-on back filter, a couple decorations, a couple of just, you know, artificial plants. Yeah, he got me a bit of stuff, like, just to get me started. And I had no idea about anything aquarium related. So I think I went to probably would have been a big box store like PetSmart or something, and I picked up a couple fish. I had no idea about temperature, water parameters, nothing. I just kind of dove right into it. So it's been about a year and a half ago, and I had fish dying on me all the time. And then the big one was I ended up buying a bunch of African cichlids at the time, and I had no idea what fish to get. And I got a pail full of African cichlids, adults. There was probably, I want to say about 7 or 8 of them. I paid like, I think it was like $15 for all of them. Like it was a good deal. The guy was just getting rid of them. I guess he didn't have enough room in his tank. And so I picked them up and I put them into the aquarium. And then I did a water change, and it was like a full-on big water change. It must have been like 60-70%. I moved the decorations out to redecorate. I moved the fish out of the tank, stressed the fish out 100%. And I ended up putting the fish back in, and I lost all the fish. They all died. They all just, it looked like I had watched them die. They're just died. Like, they're at the bottom of the tank, and then they just turned white, stiff, and they sat there at the bottom of the tank, and I had to fish them all out. And then basically after that, there was one fish that lived. One fish. And it was a hap. I don't remember what type of hap it was. I had no idea at the time. And I continued to care for it. At that point, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get rid of this aquarium, drain it all. But I had one fish in there, so I was like, well, I'll keep the one fish in there. And it lived for another couple months. Like, after that big stress, it hid for probably about 2 weeks and then started to come out slowly. And so then it gave me the idea. I was like, well, I'll get a couple more fish. A couple months later, I went and got a couple more fish, and basically that hap, the hap turned out to be big. It was probably about 4 or 5 inches. It had grown a lot, actually. It was doing very well. It turned white, and I could not care for it. I didn't have a quarantine tank. I only had this 55-gallon, and eventually it died too, so I had to fish it out. I was pretty sad about that one, and for some reason, I don't know why, I had fish in there again, and I was excited to keep going on about it, so I started to keep going on and putting more fish into the tank. I still have a few of them. I sold a few. And basically, I started to maintain the tank a little bit more after that point. I had known about water changes, about how to properly clean a tank, how to pick stuff up, use and the siphon gravel the siphon tube into the gravel to pick everything up. Like, it was going well. And then eventually I had gotten a 30-gallon tank, and I don't remember the reason why I got this 30-gallon. The 30-gallon is actually sitting in front of me right now, and it's filled with lemon jakes and a bunch of really nice African cichlids. They're all juveniles. But I don't remember the point. I think I wanted to finally get into fish breeding or something. It was along those lines of something. And I remember I went and every tank I've gotten here has been secondhand. I haven't bought a new tank. I just like kind of going secondhand and buying and fixing up things and starting projects. Anyway, I bought this 30-gallon tank, and I remember the first fish that I filled it up with. I had Mbunas for my 55-gallon, which is what I had bought from the big box stores. And I had taken them, and then I remember I put them into that 30-gallon because I had to take the 55-gallon from upstairs. That used to be my show tank, and then I was going to bring it downstairs. And so I put the Mbunas in there, and then I remember I had bought the 30-gallon. It had a light filter. It had a bunch of extra stuff. I bought it. It was pretty expensive, which I remember I paid way too much for it because the filter motor doesn't work very well. The light burnt out. The light ballast didn't work. I had to change that. And the heater was cracked. Like, the heater still kind of works, but it's kind of crappy. Anyway, I bought that. I put the Mbunas down, and then I drained the 55-gallon. And I remember during the time that I was draining it, I had learned about pH balance and about the very basic start of the nitrogen cycle. And my pH was like 6.0, like 6.2 for African cichlids. And I was like, oh my God, like this is not good. And then I tried cleaning it, and I had a horrible time trying to boost that pH. It seemed so difficult. And I think it was because of just a year of neglect on a tank, that all the fish crap had accumulated in the bottom, and you know, it was not working well. So I'd moved, I had a catfish, snow white Mbuna, I had a blue Mbuna, and then I think I bought one more. It was like a male Kenya Mbuna. I'm not too familiar with Mbunas. Anyway, I had moved them, and then I remember I found a 20-gallon tank, and I found it for, it was like $40, and it was a nice long 20-gallon that was perfect for what I wanted. And what I decided to do was take one of the rooms in my house that I bought and convert it into a fish room. So I was gonna leave it for fry, juveniles, and breeding. And I had built a stand for the 20-gallon. So I'd moved the Mbunas from the 30-gallon to the 20, which is where they are now. I'm looking at them right now. And then I was gonna move the 30 into the fish room as well, which is what I did. And then I bought a 10-gallon tank, and that was for the fry. Anyway, during that time, I had completely drained this 55-gallon, and the bottom of the water just stunk. It was brown, like it was cloudy, it was disgusting. It was the most disgusting thing that I couldn't believe all that neglect for so long. It was gross. And as you can see now, it's clear, very, very clear. Tested the water on it, and it's nice. Fish, of course. No, fish are being fish. And so basically, I moved everything into the basement now, into this one room. I'd also bought a 60-gallon tank that I was originally going to use as my display tank upstairs, until I found somebody that was pretty much giving away a 125-gallon tank. The only thing about that tank was that it split on one of the seams, so I had to take the painted glass off, re-silicone it, which I did, without breaking it. Wow, that was very difficult not to break that glass. I chipped it in a couple places. Luckily, it's half-inch glass, so it didn't chip all the way through, and it didn't even, I don't even think it chipped halfway through. But I was able to put it back, re-siliconed it, and I'm just in the process of re-siliconing it now. But my 125-gallon is what's sitting upstairs as my show tank, and that's in the works to be completed, and I'm hoping to make some nice videos on how I'm going to complete that tank upstairs, because I'm pretty excited about it. I've never had a 125-gallon. Sorry, it's actually more than 125-gallon. It'll be that once I put a 3D background there. It's about 140 to 150-gallon tank sitting upstairs. It's a big tank, and I just built a stand for it and put it up top, so it's nice. But I have no fish put in there. All my fish right now are juveniles, or fry, and they're all growing, so they're all getting there. I have one dragon blood there that's kind of growing up really nicely, but it has been a journey from a year and a half ago, basically, until now, and it has been quite the journey. It has been a lot of fish lost. Not a lot, I would say. I probably lost about 12 fish altogether, but at that time I had no idea about water parameters. I didn't know about temperature. That was a big one. Once I learned about temperature, it was like, okay, that was probably the most deciding factor of having fish and not having fish was temperature. Now I know everything about temperature, water parameters, and I can tell you I have not lost a fish in a long time. I haven't lost, well, besides the blue dolphin that jumped over the 55 gallon onto the floor. That's the only fish I've lost in probably 4 months, 5 months now. So, but basically, I just want to continue on with what I've been learning through everything, the fish that I've been getting, and just kind of show you guys how, you know, maybe you can take some tips and information and just kind of see what I'm doing. I mean, eventually I do want to sell these fish and breed them. That is the end goal, to go through this process, and I think fish are pretty fun, so I enjoy watching them grow. I enjoy seeing what they do, and then I definitely enjoy learning about the species, so I'd like to put those up as well. Yeah, Boone is just staring at me. That's funny. So, yeah, the whole point of this series, I mean, I do, every day of the week I do a different tank, so every day of the week I'll try to show you guys what I do, you know, cleaning, water changes, taking care of the fish, showing you what I feed them, and basically try to go through some species. I think that would be really kind of interesting too. But I just want to get the name out there, start up some nice little videos, and see you go from there. So the 55 gallon is not what I'm working on today. It'll be the 60 gallon, and I'll show, tomorrow will be the 55 gallon. So I'll show you what I do with the 55 come later on, come tomorrow. But today was just kind of an introduction to everything. And basically everything I have is sort of set up down here. Like my 60 gallon has an overflow box on it, so I'd like to eventually set up a sump where my 30 and 20 gallons sit right now, and then move the 30 and 20 where the 60 sits, build them a stand, and then hopefully get either a small 10, 15, 20 gallon tank to sit underneath and use it as a sump, because I've never used sumps before, and that would be a fun thing, I think, to learn. I've been kind of going over some information about it, and I also have never used a canister filter yet, and I have everything set up for a canister filter on the 125. A Fluval FX6 would be the dream. I'm hoping to save up some money and buy one of those for the fish. I mean, I don't have any fish that are ready to be up there yet, but I will soonish, hopefully. There's a couple. There's 2 fish, but I mean, it's 130 gallon or whatever tank. Like, those 2 fish will have a lot of space. Almost too much space if you think about it. So, but all the filters that I've used have been hang-on back filters, and they've worked. I mean, there's nothing special about them, really. I think it's important to have a power head kind of shooting water towards it. Otherwise, and to do water changes, otherwise it just doesn't pick up the stuff on the bottom. And I learned that with my 55 gallon from the beginning. And temperature. Unfortunately, I live in a cold climate, and it has been starting to be cold early. So temperature is definitely a hard thing up north, and to keep these guys warm because they are tropical fish. So I've been using some heaters, and I can tell you right now which heaters work and which ones don't. Some heaters work really well, and some heaters are just junk. And I have a few of them that are just junk. They're getting the job done, but I'm using a baseboard heater that's keeping this temperature only in this room very nice. So that's my spiel for today. Hopefully we can get some more guys to tune in and see what you guys think of everything that I do, and hopefully you guys learn from it, and I learn from you. If you have comments that you'd like to say, that would help me along the way. I mean, I could take all the help, because there is just so much stuff about aquariums that I still do not know. I haven't touched saltwater aquariums. At some point I'd love to set up saltwater and just have a nice saltwater aquarium at some point. Probably not a big one. I think probably a small one, maybe a 40, 50, or 60 gallon. But saltwater is definitely next up on my list. African cichlids, I think. I really like cichlids. I've been taking care of them now for probably a couple months. I've had them, but I haven't taken very great care of them. And I just like, maybe it's just what I'm used to. I don't know. I like taking care of them. I like their colors and so forth. And then hopefully aquascaping would be another kind of fun thing to do. Pretty much all of it. It just interests me, and it just, I feel like I just don't know enough information about everything to really get going, but I've had a lot of tried, tested, and true moments already. I've learned the hard way, I guess you could say, so yeah. But that's it for me, so this will be the first video of many, and hopefully you guys tune in, subscribe, hit the bell button, so that way you can get notifications the next time the videos are up. But yeah, have a good rest of the day, and we'll talk soon. Take care.